Another edition of Beat the Closing Number presented by thelines.com. My name is Eli Hershkovich. You can follow The Lines on Twitter at TheLinesUS. You can follow Nuwwarah on Twitter just as it's spelled on the screen. The Lines MLB lead analyst breaking down a few matchups for Mo's MLB Bets on the Monday card on May 22nd. Two bets to go over specifically, and then we're going to also discuss a big matchup up in Milwaukee. But first and foremost, Mo, you're up 11 units on the season, or 11 plus units, looking to build on that. And for viewers and listeners looking to get involved with Beat the Closing Number, remember to give the video a thumbs up and ring that bell to get notifications whenever The Lines releases a new sports betting video on any market, including Mo's day-to-day MLB bets. Also head over to play.thelines.com if you want a shot to win a $25 Amazon gift card by breaking down the games for Major League Baseball on a day-to-day basis. Pretty simple and easy. But 6:35 p.m. Eastern Time, first pitch, Mo. Rangers 29-17 at Pittsburgh, right behind Milwaukee in the NL Central standings at 24-22. Texas priced as high as -140 on the money line. Pittsburgh, best number you can get there is +118 if you're interested in betting the Pirates. Dane Dunning against Luis Ortiz. What do you got?
Got the Rangers. Yeah, Dane Dunning, I have him projected a little bit below average, but he is a serviceable arm. You know, he's definitely not 1.XX ERA like he has been so far, but I think his skill set plays pretty well in Texas specifically, playing in front of an elite infield. Marcus Semien, Corey Seager, Josh Young, these are all very, very strong fielders. And he's kind of a ground ball guy, a little over 50%, I believe, right around 50 for his career. So I think it's a good spot for him where he can perform probably a little better than his talent level. And then facing Luis Ortiz, this is definitely a pitcher that I'm interested in fading as long as he's up in the majors right now. I don't really know if he should be. He doesn't really look ready for it to me. More walks than strikeouts so far. 9.38 xERA, obviously minuscule sample there. It's not going to stay anywhere near that high. But, you know, when I see ERA and FIP both above 4 at AA over a decent sample, and then he's having a 40% zone rate, this doesn't look like even a decent spot for him to play well, because Texas does have a pretty disciplined lineup. They have the 8th lowest outside zone swing rate. And also Pittsburgh's offense just crashing to earth in a major way. I mean, they've been really bad lately. I don't think they look like a good group on paper, so the fact that they were doing so well early in the season definitely surprised me. They have a 90 WRC plus on the season versus right-handers. And last 30 days, if you filter down to that, it's overall an 87 WRC plus. They've been solidly below average for the past month or so. I think this is probably more reflective of their true talent level. So, yeah, I did have Texas as a bigger favorite than this. Market seems to be coming down a little bit on Texas. You might be able to get better than I got. I got -132. There's a -130 out there, I think, right now.
And breaking down the second matchup here in just a moment, but back to the Rangers really quickly, Mo. American League wins above replacement, so WAR leaders in the American League specifically. It's not Shohei Ohtani. It's not Garrett Cole, not Luis Robert, who's come on strong for the White Sox of late, not Matt Chapman for the Blue Jays, nor Wander Franco for the best record in baseball, the Tampa Bay Rays. Marcus Semien leads all American League players in WAR. Pretty wild in that category. But second game, like I teased, Cardinals at Reds, St. Louis out of the cellar in the NL Central. I have a write-up over at thelines.com breaking down why it was a good time to buy on the St. Louis Cardinals before the Dodgers series, and St. Louis wound up taking 3 of 4 over the weekend in their 4-game set. But Cardinals 21-17, Cincinnati 19-27. Best price if you're interested in the Cardinals money line, -190 at a few different sports books as of Monday afternoon. Remember to price shop over at thelines.com, and the Reds as high as +165 over at PointsBet Sportsbook if you're interested in taking Cincinnati to win this one outright. Jordan Montgomery against something Williamson for the Reds. Mo, what are you betting in this matchup?
Yeah, so something Williamson is actually a really good prospect, but another guy, kind of like Luis Ortiz, who's also a good prospect. Not sure he's ready for major league hitters right now. He absolutely crushed it in his debut, but it's surprising, honestly, because I know it's Colorado, but it's in Coors, he shredded them really bad. But let me read you his walks per nine in the minors, his last 3 stints in the minors. 5.35, 6.02, and 5.29. From a guy with a 35 command grade, that's not really that shocking, but it is shocking that they would bring a guy like that up. His stuff is very good, I guess. Apt comp, I guess. I was reading it. They comp him to Blake Snell, so that kind of walk rate does evoke from a lefty some Blake Snell comps. And yeah, AAA is not going much better for him so far. ERA, FIP, and XFIP all above 6. So I'm not really sure what he's doing other than, I guess, the Reds just throwing poop at the wall and seeing what happens because they're already minus however many games and have no shot, really. So I guess it's fine, but I don't think it's going to work out here. And yeah, obviously a lefty, anytime a lefty's facing the Cardinals, they've been elite for multiple seasons now versus lefties. That's always ringing some alarm bells for me. And specifically against Williamson, that's another very disciplined lineup here. 10th highest walk rate in MLB for the Cardinals. So I don't really anticipate Williamson having a lot of success here. And Cincinnati's lineup facing Jordan Montgomery, they're terrible against lefties as well. 25th in WRC plus there with an 83 mark. So yeah, I had the Cardinals as bigger than minus 200 favorites here. So minus 190 I think is as high as I would go with this one, but yeah, I think it's still not high enough right now.
If you thought Brandon Williamson was a made-up Major League Baseball player name, that's kind of why we use the something Williamson in lieu of the player's first name when he hasn't really performed, or I guess in his case he has. He doesn't really have much of a sample size. Try Michael Block, who had a big weekend over at the PGA Championship. That definitely sounds like a made-up golfer, to say the least. But Mo, back to baseball really quick before we wrap up, and we'll have much more talk in Major League Baseball throughout the rest of the week, especially on our long-form edition of the Beat the Closing Number podcast with a very special baseball guest this coming Thursday. We usually talk MLB futures in depth on that podcast. But 3 big series ahead of the weekend slate in Major League Baseball. Jays-Rays, and Tampa Bay has lost 6 of 7 after sweeping the Braves last weekend. Speaking of the Braves, taking on the Dodgers this week as well. And then Astros-Brewers up in Milwaukee. And tonight, it's Christian Javier, who's getting hit a lot harder as opposed to last season, up against Corbin Burns, whose command has been an issue, and then some, especially when you go back to his 2021 Cy Young season when his walk rate was in the 92nd percentile. So I know you don't have a bet in Astros-Brewers in the first game of this series. Obviously, Houston is red hot, and I believe in either the second or third position in terms of the AL wildcard standings, with Texas in front in the AL West. But is Burns, at this point in his career, the kind of pitcher that we're seeing, or do you expect some positive regression when it comes to his command?
Yeah, it seems like Burns is doing a little better last few starts, so I actually did upgrade him a little bit. He might be back. I'm not 100% sure yet. I would have to take a look, see what he looks like. I watched him a few starts ago when I had a wager on the Brewers and he didn't look good, but I think the 3 games since then, I just looking at his whiff rate on StatCast, it's kind of stabilized. 3 straight games where it's right around the same number, where like it was bouncing up and down for a little bit before, and that was like, when he was struggling. I think that the Sierra FIP, XFIP are all bad, so like the numbers will probably tell you to fade him here. I had Astros minus 110 as fair, so I think this is the right number. Also, this is not a good matchup for Houston's bats. they've been pretty bad versus cutters this year. That's always something I look at when Corbin Burns is out there. They were bottom 5, I think, last year, and this year they're 23rd. So since that's his main pitch, he throws it about half the time, and his is obviously elite. That's probably not good for Houston. But on the other hand, I think, like you said, Javier, he might be a little weaker than Burns. It's close. I always look at lefties when it comes to Javier. You want to see lefties in the other lineup if you're going to fade him. The Brewers have more right-handed batters than left in their projected lineup that I saw, but most of their best hitters are left-handed, so it's kind of balancing out a little bit there. So, I think Corbin Burns might be back. If he has a good game here, then I think it's a pretty good sign for him.
And people might be saying in regards to Houston and their recent surge that it's because of weaker competition, taking on the Cubs and the A's in the last week and sweeping both of those series before taking 2 of 3 in Chicago against the other team in the Windy City, the White Sox. But also getting Jose Altuve back in the Astros lineup certainly helps. But we'll talk more Major League Baseball over the course of the week, not only with Mo's day-to-day bets, and you can get those in real time over in the Lines Discord channel. That link is at thelines.com, but also on our long-form edition to Beat the Closing Number. Remember to subscribe on Apple, Spotify, wherever you find your favorite podcast. It's on the Lines Podcast Network. Just search The Lines. But that'll do it for this edition of Beat the Closing Number. For Mo Nuwwarah, myself, Eli Hershkovich. Remember to follow The Lines on Twitter at TheLinesUS. Thanks for watching and listening. So long, everybody.